Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I just kind of want to do this little kind of side intro piece before we get to the main body of the video. Of course, this is a very exciting one. After years of dreaming, I finally got to test drive the legendary R34 GTR, and we're going to be comparing it to my R35 GTR. I just want to give you two heads up though before we get started. We had a little bit of issues. As you know, I've been having issues with my GoPro. There was some glitches, so some things auditorily and visually might not be as perfect as I would like them. In fact, this camera that I'm recording on is a new camera. So this was the final video that basically told me to kick GoPro to the curb. I'm now recording on a DJI Pocket 3, so hopefully the quality will be a lot better in my future videos. So this is going to be the last video I do recorded on the GoPro. The second thing I want to let you know is that this video is a little bit longer than I typically do. I usually try to keep my videos at about 15 to 20 minutes or less, but this one I'm going to run a little long. The only reason why is there's two amazing opportunities in this video. One, Jesse, the guy who owns the R34 GTR, is a professional driver. The guy actually drives NASCAR. He's number 34 in the Xfinity series. So when he drives my car, his impressions are the impressions of a real professional driver. So I didn't want to cut out any of that. And then, of course, I'm test driving the R34 GTR. You know, an amazing experience, an opportunity a lot of people don't get. So there again, I don't want to cut any of that out. I want to give you guys everything. I got some rolling shots for you so you can get some good little cinematics of that. So the video is a little bit longer. So like I said, going to be a little bit of issues with the video and audio at times. I use a combination of my video and audio and Jesse's. And then, of course, like I said, it's a little bit long. But other than that, I hope you enjoy it, and let's get to it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. Today is an exciting video, and obviously it's no surprise you saw the title. Today I'm test driving the ultimate dream car, the car that we've all dreamed about since we saw it in that movie with the silver with the blue stripes, or those of you maybe even a little bit sooner if you're playing Gran Turismo, and that is the famous Nissan R34 Skyline GTR. But in this video, I'm going to be reviewing it a little bit differently. There's tons of reviews out there on the 34. I'm sure you've seen them where people drive them as a professional reviewer or they drive them on the track. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to be comparing it to the R35. Now, of course, that's not that unique. There's a few videos out there where people compare the R34 and the R35 GTR. However, most of the time, that is on a track. And let's be honest, there's a very small percentage of people in an R35 GTR who are going to take it to the track. And I'm sure there's even a smaller percentage of R34 owners that will take theirs to the track. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive the R34 and the R35 GTR back to back, and I'm going to compare them as a driver's car. What's it like to drive on the streets? Compare basically, yeah, I mean, what's the experience? Obviously, the 35 is faster on paper. It's a better car because it has more technology. But does it give you that same driver experience? So that's what we're going to talk about today. However, two things before we get started. One, if you do want to see more automotive, particularly GTR and of course Mike S14 content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And two, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have the JD Archer shop. If you go to jdarcher.bigcartel.com, you'll see a limited section of t-shirts I've designed that are for sale. But with that out of the way, let's drive a dream car. Here we are with Jesse Owuji. For those of you who've been watching the channel, I'm sure you watch other automotive channels. You may have seen this guy before. He kind of gets around.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
In a good way.
So yeah, this guy is a little bit different from a lot of the other people who have been on my channel in that driving isn't just a hobby for you, is it?
It's more than a hobby, yeah. Professionally drive, race NASCAR part-time. I don't race full-time. I've been doing that for about 9 years now. And then, yeah, a big car guy, always been into cars ever since I was a little kid. Always dreamed about having certain cars, and I've finally gotten to a point in my life where I'm actually able to have them. So it's been a crazy, crazy journey, hard-working journey. Nothing came easy. Didn't come from a rich family. Don't have, a rich sugar mama or anything like that, although I have a beautiful wife and she's amazing. you know, we didn't come from money, so we had to really work to get everything that we do have, and it's a huge blessing to have things like this.
Yeah, exactly. Now, for those that haven't followed Jesse, you really should. So your Instagram is?
Yeah, Instagram is Jesse_IWUJI, which is Jesse Iwuchi. You can easily find me on there. I always post a lot of car content. I got multiple pages actually on IG for different car stuff. My personal one, I post everything, but I go to my other ones, like specifically for this car, which is my R34 GTR. That page, I post my GTR content.
Exactly.
So yeah, have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, I've been racing in NASCAR for 9 years now. I've driven all different kind of race vehicles, and I've driven all different kind of street vehicles as well. From muscle cars with Challengers and stuff, Corvettes, GTRs, exotic cars, supercars. I've run endurance races and Miatas and E30s. You know, I've run tracks all over the country and multiple tracks outside of the country. I've been all over the place. So my thoughts and opinions that I do have for vehicles, how they drive, how they feel, come from a place of someone who's gotten a lot of experience on track maximizing vehicles, right?
Yes.
Because sometimes people will drive a particular vehicle on the street and it'll be like, oh, that really wasn't that exciting.
Yeah.
Well, of course, every single vehicle on the street at the normal speeds that you're supposed to be driving on the street, 45 miles per hour, 50 miles per hour, 65 on the highway, every single vehicle on the road, for the most part, is about the same at that level. It's not till you start maximizing the vehicle and you get to that last 10% of what a vehicle can do is where you see why a vehicle is worth $20,000 and why one is worth $500,000.
Exactly. Okay. Now that's perfect. Now that he is number 34 with the Xfinity series, so if you do want to watch him drive on NASCAR, it's the Xfinity series that he's a part of. Now that being said, like you said, you've had access to all those cars. Now in your current stable, you have a
I have Corvettes, yeah. So a C6 Z06 drift car, a C8 Z06 road car that I use also for road course track days. A C8 E-Ray as well, all-wheel drive, electric motors up front, V8 in the rear, and then I have my R34 GTR. I also had a R32 GTR, made 675 horsepower to the wheels. Sold that. I had a C7 Z06 that made 1,000 horsepower to the wheels. I just recently sold that as well.
So basically the point is, like, you actually have the ability and the knowledge to get really a lot of cars out there, and yet you chose the R34 GTR. Why was it for you that you went after the 34 when, like, you know, Ferraris, Lamborghinis?
Yeah,
kind of
but quite a few cars you can get in that range. Yeah. So the reason why I went after it is because it's always been a goal and dream of mine. Ever since I was a little kid, in 1999, I just dreamt of having one of these cars because when I was on Gran Turismo 2, I played with that car on the game and I absolutely loved it. And then all of a sudden the Need for Speed games came out. Need for Speed Underground, Underground 2, Most Wanted, all that stuff came out. Forza had its games that came out. All these games came out that were really good that had this car in it, and that made me fall in love with the car even more. And then the Fast and the Furious movies, right? Too Fast, Too Furious, Fast 4, all these movies that did have the car in it, once again, just continue to reignite my passion. So as a kid, when I was in high school and even in college, I was just looking, you know, how do I get these vehicles? And there was a couple different ways, a couple different routes you could go, but then those routes got shut down.
Yeah.
Once they got shut down, I was like, okay, I gotta wait till they're 25 years old. And then in 2020, me and my friend Jay, both of us mutual friends, Jay hit me up. He said, hey, I'm gonna get an R34 GTR. We should get one, you know, because I had a 32, he had a 35. We should get one. I'm like, yeah, let's get one. But obviously we can't get them until they're 25 years old. So we have to wait. Well, 2022 came around, and it's about 2 years before they were about to be legal to come, and he just called me up again and said, hey, I'm buying one. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, we still got a little bit of time. He's like, no, the price is gonna keep going up. We just gotta get one now. So I'm like, man, they're like $100 and whatever thousand now. And he's like, don't care, I'm gonna get one. I'm like, oh crap. We have like this weird friendship where it's like, if you get one, I'm gonna get one.
Oh,
you know?
no.
It's very dangerous.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, don't have that kind of friendship because it's dangerous. But it's all good. So he hit up Top Rank and got his. I didn't want to go the Top Rank route because I felt like everyone was going that route. Nothing against those guys. They're great. They have great vehicles, nice, clean vehicles, all that stuff. Great service. But for me, I wanted a different experience. I wanted a very Japanese experience. So I wanted to find a Japanese dealership in Japan, like super authentic, owned by Japanese folks. Top Rank in Japan is also owned by Japanese folks. But
Masa,
like,
I think, right?
I wanted, well, Masa's part of it, but they have other people. I wanted I just wanted this whole new Japanese experience. So I went through a company called Space Auto in Japan, and they just provided me like some of the best customer service. Absolutely loved everything that they did, how nice they were, all the information they provided, all the transparency with this car.
Yeah.
And then I decided this is the route I was going to go. And the car was like less expensive than other routes that I could have gone.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was saving some money. This car was $118,000. And it only had 48,000 kilometers on it.
Jeez.
No accidents, grade 4 at the auction, super clean, not abused, no mods to it, nothing. Like everything you see on it now is, I did it.
Exactly.
Like it was stock as could be, like it came from the factory. So I was like, I can't beat this. It's not going to be any cheaper than this in a few years. I might as well get it at that point. I had the cash to do it. I'm like, I might not have this cash in 2 years, who knows?
Exactly.
And I definitely don't have the cash this year if I wanted to go rebuy one. So,
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I did it when I could, and I'm glad I did it.
Now you even made a bigger effort. So it's like you could have bought like a Porsche or Lamborghini, Ferrari here. You went to Japan multiple times. You were like you were thoroughly dedicated to finding one of these.
Yeah. And luckily I bought the car before my first trip to Japan. But my trips after that to go basically experience this car was to go experience the car.
Exactly.
So I not only wanted to just buy a car in Japan, let it sit there and then ship it here, I wanted to get the full experience there because I'm all about the story, right? Like every car has its own story, and I have such a special story with this car now with all my adventures in Japan, from all the togeis that we ran, canyon roads, mountain passes, all the tracks. I ran Scuba Circuit twice. I ran Fuji Speedway, I don't even know, 4, 5, 6, 7 times.
Jeez.
I ran Suzuka once. Went to, like I said, all these togeis and these car meets and underground car meets. I did some things I can't even really talk about. It's, I don't want to be banned from Japan, but it was an amazing time with this car, and it wasn't just, like I said, it wasn't just one trip. I went 7 times.
Jeez.
I put somewhere around 15,000 kilometers on this car in Japan.
Wow. Okay, so that's something that really makes this car really unique compared to probably 98% of the R34s out there. It's seeing track time and multiple track time. And the great thing is, you really didn't have any technical problems with the car. Like it didn't break down, didn't have any oiling issues.
Nothing.
So the car is actually a fairly reliable car.
Very reliable. I mean, I'm actually, now that we've even talking about it, I'm like, you're right. Like I didn't have any major issues, minor little things had to replace here and there, but like nothing crazy. I just recently had to replace my little boots on the axles. I just did that like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, for whatever reason, this had a crack in the boots and they had all this, sludge crap coming out of it.
What is a 25-year-old car? The rubber does dry out.
Well, yeah, it took 25 years for it to happen.
Yeah.
But that wasn't super expensive. I've done minor little things to upgrade the car to make it a little bit more modern, but I haven't had to go overhaul it and go try to make 600 horsepower or something crazy. The car still makes basically stock power. I have 1 more pound of boost in stock. Okay. It makes 375 to the hub. Here's the other thing too. A lot of people say that these cars are underpowered. They're 276 horsepower. Then they're like, oh, well, there was a gentleman thing in the agreement and it made a little bit more than 276. I'm here to tell you guys, it makes a lot more than 276. They absolutely lied on what the horsepower was.
A car manufacturer lied about their numbers? That doesn't happen.
When we brought this thing in on the stock ECU, stock turbos, stock engine, stock OEM tune, nothing done to it, just stock, all that stuff. Just had the exhaust doesn't add extra horsepower. Had the exhaust on it, that's about it. Still stock cats, all that stuff. We took it to the dyno, put on a hub dyno. On the hub dyno, it made 354 horsepower to the hub.
And the thing is,
that's
in Japan, they have 98 octane, right? Which means you're running 91.
I wasn't on 91. I put race fuel in it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. Just because if you put 91, you're gonna start
getting knocked. Yeah.
You don't want that. But yeah, so like basically on pretty much their fuel for the most part. Made 354 to the hub. So that means to the engine, the car is probably making close to 400 horsepower, if not 400 horsepower to the engine. So that's why I'm saying these cars, they're not slow. Now, obviously, this is nowhere near in a straight line as fast as the R35 GTR. It's not as fast as a new R8 or Porsche GT3. It's not as fast as those, no. But these things aren't slugs either.
But let's be honest too, as we said, only maybe like 2 to 3% of the owners of any real car is going to take the car to the level where that's going to make a difference.
Exactly.
Getting on and off the freeway, you know, maybe doing a canyon run.
Yeah,
You think you're fast, but
yeah,
yeah.
You're not fast. Yeah, exactly. They get to the track. That's the thing. Like people get to the track for the first time and they go through the first corner.
Oh,
like,
that is
holy,
a humbling experience.
Yeah. Like we're here at the canyon, right? And we can go a spirited drive and it'll feel cool, but we're still only going like 40 miles per hour around a corner.
Yeah.
You go to a track, I mean, you're going 80, 90, 100 plus through corners that you, on the street, you would normally go 30 through.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I remember I was really sad because, you know, we did that track day in January of last year and you got COVID. So
yeah, oh man,
but
that's terrible.
I remember like I went into the track thinking like, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this to the car, FBO, got to get up the power. And literally 20 minutes on the track, I'm like, my thinking is wrong. I need to adjust, you know, how I approach car building in general. That's actually been a major message on my channel since then.
Yeah.
You don't need 1,000 horsepower. You
don't.
really don't. Because if I had 1,000 horsepower on streets, I'd be in the dirt.
Yeah. You could barely even use it.
Yeah, so side note, not exactly on topic, but if you ever have a chance to go to a track, don't wait till your car's ready because it's never going to be ready. Go, because then you're going to really learn what it is you do. For me, my brakes caught fire.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
that was a learning experience. So like immediately, you know, brakes are a bigger issue than they are on like a canyon because you're not going to get them that high. But that's a whole discussion for another time.
Yeah.
But I believe we kind of have an idea of what's going on with the car. So the next thing is to kind of hop in. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take turns driving the car. I imagine we'll start with the 35.
Yeah.
Jesse will drive it up. We'll talk about it. I'll drive it back because then he'll get the experience of both the driver and the passenger seat. Then we're going to switch over to the 34, do the same thing, and then we'll wrap up with basic ideas of our impressions of the car, and then we're going to give you our actual opinions as to which ones we think would be the best daily driver, the best track car, the best kind of weekend warrior. All right, so here we go. Have you driven one of these before?
I've driven the R35 GTR, but it was like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and it was on track actually.
Oh, okay.
The only time I ever drove this, it was very, very rushed, very much just go, you know. So I didn't get to like experience this. Put it over. Now we're in the manual mode, so now I get to experience for my first time ever driving the R35 GTR on the street. Interesting. The sound is not bad.
Yeah.
I can tell right now that I would rather the paddles be able to follow my steering instead of just sitting in one place. I don't know how these tires are, so I'm not gonna obviously push it too crazy hard, but you know, I get the gist of it.
Yeah. So in the 2017 they did that. They moved the paddles to the wheel, so they will do that.
Okay, that's smart because this whole sitting still, I don't like that. That's why they have to make them so big. Because when I'm turning here and I want to shift, I need to be able to shift.
So that's interesting having you in the car because I was always told you should not be shifting in a corner.
Sometimes you have to, though.
Okay.
Sometimes you have to. Oh my gosh, the acceleration is there.
And like I said, these are the endless CCR G pads, so as long as they're track pads, so they should be able to handle abuse.
I like the instantaneous, like the power is all there. I'm not even flooring it, I'm just part throttle right now, and it's all there. This is good. Definitely big power difference.
Yeah.
And like I said, everybody, I'm not pushing this 10 tenths right now. I'm just kind of driving, chilling. But chilling and having fun though. Yeah, I love the responsiveness on this throttle. It's crazy that this is a 6-cylinder motor with this kind of responsiveness, a turbo 6 with like there's no lag at all. It's just immediately there. Like I want to get this thing on track again and try it out. Holy crap.
Now also imagine too, this is a pig heavy car.
But it doesn't feel heavy. That's the thing.
I think this thing is
It feels big, but it doesn't feel heavy.
Yeah, and that's actually one of my few complaints on the car is just this general overall proportional size, which ironically enough, it has nothing to do with the weight. It's just like when you're driving around, the car is just physically big.
And this thing is responsive, dude.
Yeah.
You have no tune on this?
Nope.
Holy crap, I can only imagine by the tune. How do people say this car is boring? They're tripping. Like, there's no boringness about this thing. Like, there's nothing boring about this at all. Now, I will say this. Coming from a C8 C06 with a little bit more advanced DCT, This DCT is a little bit slower.
Yeah.
It's not the fastest. It's still a DCT, but it's not the fast. It's not as slow as a normal single clutch transmission, but it's not as fast as kind of these 2023s, 2024s now.
Exactly.
So I will say that, but it's not terrible. But you can tell it's an older car. Right?
Well, also, wasn't this really one of the first major cars that featured the DCT? Not a lot of cars had them when this car came out.
I like this. Oh my god, I need one in my life. I like the braking too. I'm just trying to test it out, feel it. It doesn't it dives too much. It's just right where it transfers the weight.
And stock suspension.
Yeah, I can feel that stock suspension for sure. That's why I can see the transition a lot. But it's not terrible. There's a lot of stock suspension cars that it sucks. You got to upgrade the suspension. Not this. This feels right. I could drive this all the way up the hill. I like the responsiveness in seconds and third on this, and it does hug really well. And the tires you have on it, they're nothing amazing. These aren't RD71Ss. These aren't Yokohama AO52s. These are
Continental Extreme Contact. So it's not even the PS4s from Michelin.
It's not even a PS4, and this car still puts really, really well. Now, once again, I haven't pushed to 10s, but and I'm not going to right here. It's way too tight. But just from just a little bit of spiritness I'm driving, it's good. This car works.
So does this kind of help you believe even more why it took down Porsche at Nuremberg?
Oh yeah, for sure. Most definitely. I can definitely see all the complaints people have about this car, to me, are unwarranted and don't make any sense to me. They don't make any sense. And I'm trying to be unbiased, right? I like all different kind of cars. I'm not sitting here, I'm not some GTR only kind of guy. I love GTRs, but I love Porsches, I love Corvettes, I even like some Mustangs too. Oh, you're supposed to drive now.
That's fine.
That's how excited I am. I didn't even let him drive his own car.
I drive it every day.
Oh my god, I like this. I like the feeling that it's giving me.
Now, to be considered too, is you got to realize that wing back there is active.
Do you want to get off right here?
I just take it all the way down. I do. People see me drive this car in all my videos.
I like this. Okay, that I didn't think about that. That wing is giving me some stability that I completely forgot about. Because I'm dude, this thing, the way it's playing it is unreal. But I forgot the GTC 500 wing. I have it on my C6006.
Oh.
It was one of the best decisions I've ever made on any car in my life, getting a big wing like that. The amount of downforce and helps it gives you in corners, slow speed, high speed, everything. It's all there. Wow, so it's good.
Now, just to let you know, this car will tend to understeer before it oversteers.
Yes, I noticed that a little bit. Definitely noticed that. And with that wing, it definitely adds to that. And it sounds good too. From the inside, it sounds good.
Yeah, the sound ending in here when I cruise on the freeway is amazing. So apparently it has some sort of microphone that sends some sort of high pitch canceling through the stereo.
Yeah. Wow. This is good. So how does it feel as a passenger with me driving the way I'm driving? Does it feel holy crap?
No, so that's the amazing thing. I've almost never ridden passenger in this car. And actually, for me, it's kind of nice because I'm not scared because I know you, I trust you, because I know you know what you're doing, unlike some other people. So it's kind of interesting because I'm also starting to see a little bit of, oh my God, you caught up to that guy. I'm starting to kind of learn a little bit more about the car, just sitting passenger from somebody who actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah. And I really like this 35. This is the first time I've gotten to actually chill and drive one. This is the first time I've gotten to chill and drive one, and this is good. It's a good car. Even just at lower speeds, chilling. It sounds good too. I wasn't always the biggest fan of the R35 GTR sound from the outside. I think it's just a better sounding V&Q. That's what I was thinking. But inside the car, it sounds better. It sounds better inside than it does outside.
Yeah, and I was impressed. Like I said, I made the drive from Seattle to LA and it's perfectly fine.
Man, the safety, acceleration, the responsiveness is there. That's when I talk about acceleration, it's about the responsiveness to my throttle input. It's just there. Immediate. I can feel the all-wheel drive system working when I start applying throttle mid-corner. It's just there.
Yep, my camera aired out.
I like this. This definitely made me more of a fan of the 35. Not that I didn't like them before, but I wasn't fully sure, or I wasn't set on them yet. Dude, this little drive right here changed my thoughts. Well, I can only imagine now on a really good set of tires and some good suspension on this car. What?
And I'd like to think to an extent part of it is because I built the car with the idea of balance, not with just pure power.
Exactly. It doesn't need it. Oh, it doesn't need the extra maneuver on here comes or stop. And that now before, like, this is still great for its time though. Like,
yeah,
today it's, not that it's still great for today. It's just, there's some cars that are quicker.
And that's why it really needed to be discontinued.
Yeah.
I mean, the last one rolled off the assembly line in October.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, it really should have happened about 5-6 years ago, because that's the problem. Like, yeah, when it first came out, Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini, they're like taking note of a Nissan and worried about it.
Yeah.
And since then, they've upgraded their technology, they've upgraded their cars, and now they're not worried about it because this car has stayed almost exactly the same, aside from some changes to the front bumper, since 08 when it came out.
Yeah.
And that's where Nissan made a huge mistake.
Yeah. Cool. I like this. I'm definitely like, okay, 35. So everybody who's watching, go into the comments right now. Obviously, you're not driving, so you don't feel what I feel. But what's your thoughts? 35? Like, what's your thoughts on it? Leave them in the comments. Do you think it drives well? Do you think it handles well? What's your thoughts? Yeah, cool. Well, time to jump into the 34 and then see how it's like.
Let's do it.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah. All right, so here I am for the first time in the driver's seat of the R34. I did get to go for a ride in Amelia's Bayside Blue when I rode passenger.
Okay.
For a few moments. So,
yeah.
First things first. Oh God, the visibility is just so much better out of here, isn't it?
It's better. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I didn't even look at your mirrors that much when we were in the 35.
That's always the first thing I do is visibility, because like sometimes in that car, the 35, when I'm making a left change, I really have to rely on the mirror.
Yeah.
This one, I can actually see out the C-pillar window and like the visibility on this. But that's kind of standard for this era. Like, there's a lot more glass. Yeah. So definitely the visibility is a lot better. I feel like I'm taller in this car than I do in that car.
Okay.
So that's a little bit of a difference.
The helmet works pretty good in here. I don't hit the top, so maybe that's control over a little bit. I don't know. I tend to do that when I'm on track.
It just might also just be that there is just a little bit more headroom in the 35 just because of the year it's from.
Yeah.
And it's also the teardrop shape of the roof line.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're in the 34 GTR now.
Does this tilt up or down, or is this?
It does. I don't know. Yeah, I think it does tilt up and down. Yeah, it does. It still has a lever somewhere in there.
Okay. Oh, there it is right there. Okay. I was just kind of curious because
I just kind of leave it typically there. I leave it a little bit lower.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, of course, the MFD, which did carry over to the 35.
Yep.
So this is not a V-Spec edition because it only has these.
Yeah, it's not a V-Spec. This is a base model R34 GTR.
Did you add the brushed aluminum? Because I thought the brushed aluminum
No,
it just only came on the V-Spec.
I don't know. I didn't add it.
Somebody might have.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. This is flashing me back to my 32 days a little bit, shifting right hand and that other stuff. This interior is definitely a lot better. Like, compared to my 32, like, this interior just feels a lot better. Like, the 32 is a great car, but it's a 90s car that's definitely designed in the 80s.
Exactly.
This one definitely, it feels more premium than the 32 and even the 33. So this really is a step up compared to the other two cars, isn't it?
Yeah, huge step up.
All right. But other than that, so the GTR, see, the one thing I've noticed about the GTR,
it's still
like
GTR.
The 35, it's very what I consider modular with the dash. Like, it's a lot of square.
Is it?
Like when I had like my Supra and my FD, the dash was very rounded. It kind of wrapped around you. Everything was interconnected.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Oh, third pedal, I miss having a third pedal. All right. There's the engagement. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's not too bad.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Obviously, I'm not going to be pushing it as hard as you push mine.
It doesn't do that. Obviously, not as much.
Oh.
The brakes start touching.
Oh, I like that.
The project you use, yeah. And the tires are still getting warm, by the way. So I would say this Gotta still.
I'm not saying pushing it very
You are.
because it's, you know, skill level.
I did.
Oh my God, I love these brakes.
They're good, right?
Oh my.
They work really well.
Everybody always talks about how like the 34, like the brakes are like one of the weakest points, but those brakes are amazing.
I just made the suspension way more stiff.
Oh yeah, that feels a lot better.
You feel it immediately.
That
I went
feels
from
a
0
lot
to
better.
100%.
I can't go to a brake with these brakes because I will just.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. What I do is I just typically, when I downshift, I just slowly let off the clutch.
Oh my God, and if nothing else about the car, I'm in love with those brakes.
And the handling, how's the handling feel?
You know, it's interesting because it does kind of feel a little bit like the 35.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little surprised by that.
Well, probably because of the active suspension that I have on it. The RS Pro 3 active suspension from JRZ, I mean, it modernized the car so much, and it makes it feel like a today car, but even better. Honestly, better than today car.
You know what's funny is I don't feel like you're going fast. Now, I don't know if I'm really pushing it that hard on it.
I feel like you're definitely pushing it a little bit. Not hard, not crazy hard, but you know, definitely spirited driving here in the canyons.
Like it's comfortable. Like I don't feel. I mean, part of it, I'm sure, is
You don't feel like you're gonna lose it.
Yeah.
Now the tires, yes, are very good. I had the Vittor P1s on here. They're the P1 Tempistas. Really, really good tire. It's a 200 tread wear that feels like a dang 40 tread wear.
I could definitely see where you could daily drive this car.
It's daily friendly. It's very daily friendly. Like I said, I've driven up and down Japan. I've gone on 5-6 hour trips in this car, no issues. Like it's very friendly, comfortable too as well, and the seats work really, really good.
I think part of it too is your setup. Like if I was running like typical street tires and maybe stock brakes, I might be having a different experience.
It is. I have this car set up well. But that's the thing. You got to know how to set up your car, right?
Learning that the hard way.
Yeah, you got to. I mean, I have everything dialed in on this car so that it works well on the street, and it works well in canyons, and it works well on the track.
Now I gotta say, obviously, the biggest observation is just the raw power difference.
Yeah, I immediately, once I jumped in to warm up the tires real quick, I immediately was like, oh, I don't have that same power anymore.
Yeah.
You know, that was definitely like a, I don't know, man. But it's still fun. Once you get up to speed in this car, you're up to speed. It's just the getting up to speed, obviously, just isn't the same way R35 is.
And of course, I've got a Subaru in front of me that just isn't letting me by.
Yeah.
Oh, a little bit noisy brakes. Yeah. Oof. God, those brakes are
They're touchy.
amazing.
They're touchy, right? The Project
I want-
Muse.
I want these brakes.
So what's your thoughts coming uphill so far in the canyons here with the R34 GTR, your first time driving one? It's a one that's set up well too.
Yeah, that is a major difference. So it's weird because I would almost say when I drive the 35, particularly in this area, it feels more like a race car that was built as a race car. Like that was its purpose.
Yeah.
Where this feels like, I think someone says it's right. You know, GTR is a trim of a Grand Tour car. And in that, it is a different feel where like, I could, you know, easily go to Vaughn's, go get groceries in this and feel perfectly fine. And then, you know, have fun on the corners on the weekends.
Now, what's your thoughts on this? I'm about to say something that a lot of people don't agree with.
Okay.
The R32 GTR is a predecessor to the R33 GTR. The R34 GTR is not a successor to the R33 GTR. It's a predecessor to the R35 GTR.
I'm going to say no to that. I mean, I haven't driven a 33 yet, but here's why. The 35 is ridiculously big, ridiculously heavy. And they did that on purpose because they used that weight to give you better traction.
Yeah.
This car still lives by the true sport car compact. It's more narrow, it's lighter, it's obviously more nimble. Like if we were going to do streets, I don't think there's any way the 35 could compete with this. So it's a different philosophy that harkens back more to the 32, I believe. Where, you know, also here again, you know, the 35, you can't, it's not called a Skyline. I know a lot of people like argue about whether or not it's a Skyline. There's a reason why it's not called a Skyline is because the Skyline, like I said, you have GTTs, GTs, GTX, GTR is a trim package. And so in this feels like, you know, if you put regular seats in this and took off that wing, you'd see some 40-year-old guy driving this, you know, just around town with his kids in the back. But because this has been upgraded, it's got turbos brakes.
Brakes are good.
Yes, you know, it's got the wing, it's got the more aggressive front end. It sets it apart from the line. And also the fact that, you know, they're still wanting the same RB26 engine. It's going to give you the same feel as far as the power bit goes. The major difference on this one is the GetTrack 6-speed. So I would say no, the R35 is its own separate platform. It's just a completely separate beast. This is what the 32 obviously would have been as a natural evolution. Because I've also had the 32. So
Okay,
I just had that experience of having the 32 as well. But that's just
Yeah, no, interesting take. The reason why I would say it is a predecessor to the 35 than it is a successor to the 33 is because the 33 feels like just a bigger, a little bit more modernized 32, whereas the 34, especially with this 6-speed transmission, are you noticing that the 6-speed is way more aggressive than the 5-speed? You'd probably have to jump into 5-speed and try it and then jump in it. It is way more aggressive.
Okay.
Because I had both cars at the same time, my 32 and my 34. So I would come back from Japan, jump into 32, and immediately be like, what the heck?
But your 32 had a different transmission, right?
Well, I did have stock transmission for a longest time, and then I switched to sequential, but I was still very familiar with the differences. And I just felt like the transmission alone, like, really made this car feel closer to, like, it felt like this was like this car is an older manual transmission R35 GTR with less power.
You know what you need to do. And it's unfortunate that I don't have it anymore because, you know, this is the exact same transmission that was in my Mark IV Supra.
Yeah, they pretty much made the same company. I think Tremec or whatever.
GetTrack.
Or GetRag, I'm sorry, GetRag, yeah.
So it would be interesting to put this next to the 34 side by side because it's the same transmission. They're both inline 6-speed. Having owned a 34, thinking back to it though, and the Supra felt heavy. Like it's
a big car.
It felt like what I would consider a Japanese muscle car, like the Japanese equivalent of, like, you know, a new Arrow.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
This doesn't. This, you know what? People are gonna hate me for saying this. Closer to my Miata than a muscle car.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I fully agree. And most people won't understand that because they've never driven a Miata on track, so they'll never know. But when I drove this thing for the first time on track, understanding that I didn't have the power that I have in other cars, I immediately reverted back to driving this car like a Miata on a track. I drove it like a momentum car. And once I started thinking that way and not thinking of it like a big horsepower car or anything like that, I immediately got faster. My times got way better once I started driving this like a Miata on track. I've never said that before, but now that you mentioned that, I'm glad somebody else who understands what I'm talking about said that. That's very, very good information right there.
Yeah, because this acceleration is not impressive compared to the 35. God, those brakes.
The brakes are great.
The cornering is really where the money of this car is.
Yep.
Anybody who buys this car to turn it into a drag car is doing car disservice.
Oh yeah. This needs to be a road course car, like, all day. And it can be a drag car, but that's not what's meant to.
Forgive me, I let it just harder than I meant.
But it took it, though.
Yeah, the computers kind of think saved my ass a little bit on that.
Well, what computers? I mean...
It does. Well, I mean, from the...
It says it?
Yeah.
Oh, watch out, you're close over here.
Good call on that. Yeah. I was looking for the blinker.
I was like, you're pretty close.
Yeah. I was looking for the blinker and I looked down. Got all that gravel.
Yeah, it's all good. It's sticky tires. That's how you know you got sticky tires. That's how you know you warmed up the tires, when you hear all the rocks.
Yeah. Well, this is also a lot right there.
No, it's all good. I'm not sure.
So I can definitely say it's definitely a more comfortable drive than the 35s.
There you go.
Yeah. That's interesting.
You know, one thing I thought was weird with this car when I first got it. So you don't own the clutch anymore, right?
No.
So, like, it makes all these weird sounds. Like,
oh, is that your clutch? Do you have
so clutching. See how it stops? Clutch out. Do you hear that?
Do you have is it twin plate?
No, it's a stock clutch. It just does weird things. It sounds weird. Like, and all of them do that. All 34s, like, they just have this weird, they just do weird things, all these weird sounds.
Do you know why that doesn't bother me? I didn't even notice it. The famous barrel housing rattle of the 35.
So exactly, because it makes all these weird clunks and things. That's just a GTR thing, guys. When you get into like these cars, they just sound weird. They make weird sounds. It's not broke. It's just car makes weird sounds.
Yeah, it's weird. Like for me, like after driving it, like I feel weird, because it's like I don't know what I expected. Like I knew it's not like a high powered car, like especially because after riding with you driving this, the 35. But I feel weird in that it's not what I expected, even though I didn't really expect anything in per se, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of weird because, like, obviously it doesn't have the power that it has that I'm used to. So the car feels a little bit slow.
I mean, the response in the power of 35 is pretty crazy. Now that I just drove that and jumping in this, it's definitely a difference. I mean, I can't deny that. There is a power difference. It's on paper, but in person, feeling it, you can feel it.
But it's the lateral. So like that, I guess the easiest way to, this is going to sound stupid, I hate to say this, I understand why they put Paul Walker in a car like this and would put Vin Diesel in a car like that. Mm-hmm. That's a brute. It's a monster.
It's a gorilla and cheetah, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean...
Slower cheetah, but...
It seems like even Godzilla is not a proper moniker for this particular car because he's a monster, he's a beast. This is more like a nimble, agile... something that's extremely agile, can move around quick, can change directions in a heartbeat, and it's still quick, but it's just not that rawness. It's more finesse.
For football fans out there, this is like an Emmitt Smith or a Barry Sanders, and that over there is like a Jerome Bettis.
There we go. Yeah, both
of them can move, both of them can get yards, both of them get the job done. They just do it in different ways.
Yeah, I mean that sucker, he's pretty much giving the ball, telling him to run, and he barrels through everybody. Like that big fat kid and all those football moves. This is the kid that runs up there at like
people, exactly. Little lightning quick,
That's why I think when you ask me if this feels like the predecessor to the 35, I think that's why it does it, because it seems like the mentality of the car is different. This one is, I'm going to be fast, nimble, agile like a martial artist. That's, I'm going to be a boxer, brute.
You heavyweight and lightweight. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mayweather and Mike Tyson. Boom. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Damn, I'm getting it. I understand your perspective.
More like Ali and Tyson.
Yeah.
Because Ali was very smart in the way he boxed.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson, he'll just bite your ear off.
True. Mike, don't come after us.
Yeah. No lawyers. Oh, man. But thank you for, I mean, this was something I needed to do. I mean, it's an amazing
How many people get the opportunity to drive an R34 GTR?
Yeah.
And not only just drive it, but go up and down a canyon, at some decent speeds. Obviously, we're not cooking it, going 60+ miles per hour, but we're still, we're having a little bit of fun going up and down.
Of traffic here. Yeah. But it's kind of cool, also good having the traffic, because then I got to see, if I was going to daily drive this, how's it going to handle it? Because those who've been following my channel for a while, I daily drive all of my cars, the Mark IV Supra, the Miatas, the S2000s, the R35. So if I did get one of these, it would be daily driven. And to be honest, as a daily driver, I think this is a better daily than the 35.
Interesting.
And part of the reason is that sucker's so wide. So parking it is a real pain. It's heavy. It has that blind spot. Like I said, if I'm changing lanes, going to the left is a little bit of a pain. Going to the right is obviously easier, but this one you just have way better visibility, where I'd feel more comfortable in traffic in this car than I would in that car.
Yeah. Interesting. Good to know.
So, yeah.
Cool. Well, perfect. That was awesome. Glad you got to drive this thing.
Oh, man.
Okay, I'm back. Obviously, I'm in a different location. I'm dressed differently. I probably look a little bit differently all across here too. The reason why is that video was filmed about 2 weekends ago, and the reason why we didn't do the typical wrap-up is we pretty much lost the light. By the time we were done recording and driving the car, getting some roller shots, the sun had basically set. So we really didn't have the ability to wrap up everything, give our final opinions, talk about what would be the best daily driver, which would be the best weekend car, and which would be the best track car. And to be honest, it's actually kind of a good thing it happened for two things. One, as you know, the GoPro was having issues, so I don't have to worry about losing that footage. I'm now recording on the DJI Pocket 3. So at least I'm more confident that the footage will come through. The second reason is the R34 left me with something I've never experienced before when driving a car. and that is, I didn't know how I felt about the car. You know, usually most cars I get out of a car, I'm like, this was a great car. I love this car. I want one. Other cars I get out of the car, I'm just kind of like, man, it's an all right car. It's not my favorite. I really don't want it. So I got out of the 34 with the sensation of, I don't know how I feel about this car. So the fact that it's taken me about 2 weeks to get to this point is good, because I've had a time to kind of sit with it, live with it, think about it in my head. I've gone back and watched the footage as I've edited the video together to best try and figure out exactly where I sit on the R34. And it's interesting. I think it's because there's some contradictions going on. Like, obviously in my head, there's two things going on. Like, one is, you know, this is the car that we saw. We think it's absolutely awesome. We've seen it in movies and video games, and it's just kind of like this unicorn halo, awesome car that we've dreamed about for at least the last 20 years. And then the other half of my brain is like, well, you know, it's still just a 25-year-old Nissan. You know, it only had about 270 horsepower coming from the factory. Jesse claims it's more based on his dyno experiences. And so you're dealing with that. And of course, I'm driving the R35 GTR, which is just a monster of a car, no matter what you do with it. Leave it stock, modify it, it's just a beast. And so I'm stepping from that to the 34. So I'm considering all this stuff in my head, and there still seems to be a disconnect. It's weird. The car was a really, really good driving car. Like, it was enjoyable. Thinking back on it, going through that road, part of the problem was the road we picked. It was a bit more of a narrow type road. There was guardrails on both sides, so like there was no margin for error, and there was traffic on the road. And so obviously when you're driving a car that's north of six figures, there's gonna be a little bit of nerves there. Like, you don't wanna do anything to hurt the car, damage the car. So maybe that took me a little bit out of the experience. But at the same time, that also is a testament to the car, in that, looking back at the footage, I was driving harder than I thought I was. Like, when you see the footage of the background going by, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't look at the speedometer once during that entire drive, or the tach. I was going strictly off of ear feel and just basically the sensation of the car. And when I looked at the speedometer at times, I was going around some of those corners at about 90 to 100 kilometers per hour, which would make it about 45 to 60 miles per hour. And those were like 30, 40 mile an hour corners. So the car was so comfortable to drive that I didn't even realize how hard I was driving it. So that's a real testament to the 34. Did I feel like it was really lacking on power? No, actually, I think even based on that stock configuration, I think it's a very well-balanced car. As you heard in the video, I can compare it to my Miata. And for those of you that have been following the channel for a while, you know the Miata is one of my favorite cars. It's probably the most well-balanced, forgiving car I've ever driven. I've actually owned 3 of them, and it's great because I'd go around corners that would say, like, you know, warning 25 miles an hour, and I'd take it like 60, 70, the tires wouldn't make a sound, I wouldn't think twice. And so it's kind of cool that the R34 reminded me of that experience. Now, obviously, the car's got more technology, it's got more power, so the fact that this car reminded me of the Miata is not an insult to the car at all. It's actually more of a compliment. I think where the major disconnect for me happens with the R34 is its price tag. So is it a good car? Yes. Is it an excellent car? Probably. Like I said, the road didn't allow me to comfortably take it to a higher limit that I would have liked to have taken it to. But is it a $100,000 driving experience? And at this point in time, I think I'm going to say no. I'm sorry, Jesse, I know you love that car, it's your baby. This is absolutely no insult to the car. But for me personally, from the driving experience of the car, would I say it's an excellent, great car at $50,000 to $60,000? 100%, yes. I think that if these cars were going for 50 to 60,000, let's maybe even say 70 or 80 for some of the topper end, really clean, low mile, specialty ones, yeah, I think it's a phenomenal car at that point. But when you're looking at dropping 120 to 150K, and I've seen some higher for the special editions, you know, 250 for the M specs, is it an awesome car at that point? And I'm going to have to say no. And the reason why is there's just so many better cars out there that'll run circles around that car, might even be even better for daily driving, that you can get for the money. And this really shouldn't be news to anybody. Now that being said, if you want the 34 at that price point, definitely get it, because it's not like they're making any more of them. It's not like they're extremely common. It's not like you're going to see 12 of them sitting at the Starbucks in the morning like we do Lamborghinis and Ferraris here in Los Angeles. So if you want that car that nobody else has, and it's the car that you've dreamed about, if that's what makes it worth $100K, then it's definitely worth that. But for me, I'm gonna be honest, I'm still probably gonna go and get one, only because I feel like I need to at some point. But I think that's where the disconnect was. I think that's why I wasn't sure how I felt. So I think it's a great cornering car. I think it is a phenomenal performing sports car. Like I said, if it reminds me of the Miata, that's probably one of the best compliments I can give a car, because I really don't care about quarter mile times, because that's all mechanical. The driver actually has to drive on those corners. It has to understand break-in points, turn-in, apexes, trail braking, all that stuff. So in that, I think the car is a phenomenally performing car, especially given how old it is now. But to get to the main point of the video, and that is, given the fact that, you know, there are some 35 GTRs that are over 100,000, and obviously some of the 34s are obviously over that point, even though I've seen the prices come down over the last couple weeks. Given if the prices were the same, which is the better daily driver, which is the better weekend warrior, and which is the better track car? To start off with, for the daily driver, some things that the R35 has over the 34 is it's newer, it has more technology, it has a way bigger trunk. Like, the trunk on the 35 is absolutely ridiculous. So in that, the 35 is a good daily driver. The 34, in my opinion, is probably a better daily driver. And here's why. One, it's a smaller car, which means you don't have to worry about tight parking spaces as much, parallel parking, all that stuff. So it's a smaller car as far as that goes for daily driving. I think if you're going around town, it's more comfortable to have a smaller car. That's just my personal preference. The trunk is decent. You'll still be able to get quite a few things in there, not as much as you would in the 35. Like with my 35, when I took my kid around, you know, I was able to fit his stroller, his backpack, just anything I'd possibly need to take care of my kid when he was small would fit in the trunk with the R35 without an issue. If I was to use the 34, some of the stuff would probably have to go in the back seat because the trunk isn't as big. Now, that being said, the rear seat on the 34, way bigger. There's a lot more space in the back of the R34 than there is in the R35, which is why I think the R34 is a better daily driver. The other reason why I think the 34 is a better daily driver is also just the engine. The 35 just has a massive amount of power that's always readily available. It's always there. The 34 can be more tame. So if you're not putting your foot down, it's gonna drive like a very sane street car. So I would say between the two, the better daily driver would be the R34. And that's of course ignoring price point and collectability. As far as a weekend warrior, I would probably enjoy the 34 more. The reason why is, once again, it's a narrow car, it's a lighter car, it's still very responsive. It corners like my Miata, which I love corners way more than straight stretches. So in that, I think as a weekend warrior, once again, I gotta give it to the 34, only because, like I said, I wanna go on tight, twisty roads. That's fun for me. Now, if you want to do a weekend warrior that does roll racing and drag racing and that type of stuff, obviously the 35 is going to win. But for me personally, I like corners, so 34 as a weekend warrior. As a track car, obviously not a surprise, the 35 to me would be the better track car. I mean, the sucker's just a beast. It's a mass amount of power, even in stock form. The turbos are super responsive, so there's no turbo lag, which makes it very predictable on the power band. As you know, I did have my 35 out on streets of Willow. I had a blast until my brakes caught fire, but that's more my fault for not buying better track pads and going with what I had. So definitely, I think the 35 as a track car. That's not saying that the 34 wouldn't be a fun track car and you'd have a blast, but if you want to be competitive, The 35 is just going to run circles around the 34, and that just has to do with, you know, just the overall power and size of the car, and probably even some of the aerodynamics. So that's pretty much my take. I'm sorry I probably rambled here at the end, only because I'm still in my head trying to figure out this R34 experience. I mean, if you do have the chance to drive an R34, I heavily recommend doing it, because everybody's different. You're going to have your own experience and your own thoughts. These are just mine. So just to quickly go over it once again, I think the 34 is a great car. I would definitely own one. It reminds me of my Miata, which, you know, I loved my Miatas. I just think the price point doesn't really justify what it is, especially given the other things that are on the market. But that being said, I probably am going to buy one in the next year or two, only because I have to have one. It doesn't make any sense, defies all logic. There's so much better cars out there I could get there for the price, but it's a part of my history. It's part of the reason why I got into cars in general. So for me, take that as you will. I say it's not worth the price, but I'm willing to pay that price. Makes no sense. And then obviously, I think it's a better daily driver than the 35. I think it would be a better weekend warrior than the 35, but I think the 35 would just absolutely school this car on the track. So that's pretty much everything I have on that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go hit that thumbs up button to let me know. It does help the channel out a lot. If you do want to see more automotive, particularly GTR and, you know, Mike's S14 and various other automotive content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also follow me on all forms of social media, which include Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and there'll be links for those in the description down below. Now, after watching this video, if you have any questions, comments, if there's things you want to check in with me about, or you think I'm just completely full of it and I don't know what I'm doing, go ahead and post in the comment section down below. I will respond to you. I thank you all for watching, and until next time, forget everything else, focus on the finish line.